Well, something long to poke it down with? Yeah, I could probably poke at it till it falls and then clean it up, but... Honestly, it's not even that big of a concern for me. I'm going to be out of here in, like, 6 days. I think if I was staying at 3 weeks again, I probably would have taken care of it. But for now, it's just my friendly little buddy. I didn't even know they had stink bugs in Korea, by the way. I don't think this has been a problem in the past. I know that, like, they've... Mosquitoes and just little tiny shit flies, little gnats, definitely a problem. But stink bugs I actually had not seen, I don't think, in Korea up until now. But I definitely recognize them because we certainly get them back at home. Yeah, shorter trip because I'm hopping around so many places, right? So in total, I'll be gone away from my home for about 3 weeks again. But first it was the Netherlands, and then it's Korea, then it's Australia. So. Alright, we got ourselves a high-level replay. Prometheum submitting Trigger versus Nina. So PvP. Which is pretty cool. Bottom right of Cosmic Sapphire, it's Trigger. Top left, it is Nina. It's talking about Protosses who have tried to go for no wall-off traps. And Nina was actually one of them. She did try that for, I think, about a month. And it was kind of cool. Caused us to do a lot of speculating, which was always fun. Didn't really stick. So since then, and I said like 2 years ago, pretty sure she stuck to just the wall off. Now, we're in a map pool that has a lot of opportunities for one gate expand, but on the low ground that still turn into a wall, right? So that's a different thing. Cosmic Sapphire actually not one of the maps that's going to be for low ground expansion. Some people will force it. By some people, I mean max packs. But even though Trigger can also sometimes choose the odder. More odd. Yeah. The weirder builds, he's not even doing that here. Both of them getting their scouts in, and both of them going for double stalker openers. Come here. There we go. Yeah, Nina is blocking off with her own pylon. Let's see what pops out. Ditto on Trigger's side. Nina did send those stalkers off to the right. I'm not 100% that Trigger saw that. I kind of would have assumed that he did, but it is tricky. Building buildings do not have much range. So I wonder. They are both doing the exact same build, though. So the seed of doubt in your mind can certainly play a part, but if you kind of... I mean, kind of guess correctly, yes, but stay the course, I guess, as well. It's going to turn out alright. Twilight Council is much faster for Trigger. Why is that? Nina was just later. She got a faster shield battery. So actually, Nina's the one that's a little bit more in doubt. We have massive house spiders. They're like 3 to 4 inches long. Damn. That's like a tarantula, dude. Are you sure about that? Leg tips to leg tips. I guess if they were like splayed out. So maybe like they're 2 inches if they're like up on them. Okay, that's not a tarantula. But yeah, if they're like 3 to 4 inches long across the body, that's a fucking tarantula. It's either way pretty scary. I've mostly gotten over my fear of spiders. Fear isn't really the right word. I've always been more afraid of them just getting into like my hair. Has basically been my fear. So if they're on my body, then I would, instinctively be like, oh shit, like they're gonna climb up. And just the kind of, instinctual, oh shit, something's there that I don't want, right? But I've kind of gotten over that. There's been times where spiders have been like crawling up my leg or on my arm, and I just am like, oh, hello. Now, if one is on my face and I wake up to it, I'm still gonna freak the fuck out, for surezies. Or if I, pull down the visor in the car and one falls out onto my lap, I'm gonna for sure freak out. But otherwise, I don't mind them as much. I definitely still mind the really, like, chitinous ones, you know what I mean? The ones who look like they were made to play a part in Starship Troopers, you know what I mean? But fuzzy ones, skinny ones, I'm okay with those. All right, this is a kind of brutal situation for Nina. If she doesn't save the third Nexus, which it looks like she might not be able... Yeah, she can't. That really sucks. So this was just a battle of who actually made Stalkers versus who maybe skipped it in exchange for maybe faster technology, or in exchange for these Adepts, for instance. And it looks like Nina, you know, she went for the Adepts. She went for 3 in total. Gets 3 probes, I believe, in total. Might have just been a little less on the actual army attack defense front. So she kind of got surprised. No problem defending the natural, of course, but more of a problem defending the third base. So Trigger gets a faster third base by, what, like 50 seconds? And now Nina's looking for some revenge. She does still have her sentries alive, which is something that Trigger had to give up as he ran away, but don't think the Guardian Shield is going to overcome a shield battery, which Trigger can always fall back to. Also does have a decent amount of reinforcements with the... Well, only 2 gateways up and running, but still good enough with the blink, with the shield batteries. And in fact, I just chased down the sentries, as well as chasing down more Stalkers. Nina does have a proxy pylon, so Trigger might not have known about that. Might be overstaying their welcome a little bit. I want to go ahead and retreat. They're both trying really hard to win the micro war. And it was actually really sketchy who exactly was winning, but it looks like Trigger was in the right to stick around, as he ends up sending Nina back home. Still has not seen the pylon, though, so yeah, definitely know about that. Could have maybe been caught off guard, especially because it was 2 gateways to 4, actually. Nina had just more production, but she hadn't really won the initial fight, and then I don't think she was actually producing 4 Stalkers at a time. Plus, there were slow warp-ins. So, altogether, Trigger is the one coming out ahead here. So, slightly ahead on the economy with the faster Nexus. Whoops-a-daisies. And a couple more probes every now and again, and a faster +1 by about 30 seconds. Nina is going to be going into Robotics Bay. She's probably felt out that she has, you know, been behind, right? She knows that her Nexus was canceled, Trigger's was not. She knows that that attack was supposed to do something, and it didn't. And she might not know about the Forge situation, so that's the only thing up in the air, but otherwise, might be feeling a little bit behind. I don't think so behind that if she did just kind of stay the course on Mass Gateway, she would have no chance of winning. Positioning and catching your opponent off guard and so on would still be really important. I think it's just one part, maybe a little behind. Another part, she just likes disruptors. These NA kids, man. All about disruptors. Spider doesn't pay rent. Well, they kind of do, though, is the thing. And I mean, in general, I just always feel bad about killing bugs that, you know, really aren't bothering me. It's been like a necessity out of my own, like, mental sake, right? To kill them. But I've always known that spiders are better bugs to have than anything else. And it was just a matter of being okay with them. I still escort them out, though, to be fair, if I do see them. Like, some people have bathroom spiders that they legitimately are okay with having, like the spider nest built up behind the toilet. And I think those people are crazy. And they're like, no, they catch all the bugs. And I'm like, no, that's still not, no. You should just try other ways, make sure you don't have bugs. You can't just have a spider in a spider web like that blatantly obvious, okay? But I do let all the spiders in our unfinished basement be chill. I'm chill with them, they're chill with me. It's all Gucci. Because they catch worse spiders. Or worse bugs, rather. And, I gotta say, silverfish will always be the worst. Silverfish and cockroaches are pretty fucking terrifying. And the way they scuttle. God. Alright, big old, very bold blink into the 4th base from Trigger, with I think just generally a mistake, to be honest. That is too bold of a maneuver. It's not like the guy was that far ahead, but really wanted to beat Nina to the punch, to the concave punch, which if Nina was only on Stalkers herself, might have been good enough. As you can see here, she is struggling to defend. No shield battery, only the disruptors, and Trigger had forced his way, basically, into this concave position. But with disruptors, it became a little bit more questionable, right? Oh my god. Okay, good blink forward there. That was a little sketch, but Trigger knew what he was doing. Focus fire down the right disruptor. Still has a good number of stalkers. They're starting to dwindle with the snipes. Of course, they're taking damage from the stalkers of Nina, right? And Trigger's army is looking battered and bruised. Still up by 4 stalkers rather. No, okay, now only 1. They're being warped in. But had a +2 attack lead that entire time, and still has a lot of room to play with that +2 attack lead. But is this guy deciding to go back home? More reinforcements from Nina. Maybe a shield battery eventually would have been created, and Trigger decides that that is actually not the time to win the game. But it was really close. Even with what I would say is almost always too brave of a blink, Trigger almost made it work. But behind all of that, Trigger was getting a 5th Nexus. If you are going to be going up against someone who has Disruptors, it is going to be more akin to like a Protoss versus Zerg situation. Well, kind of. Either you go for your own Disruptors, right, which same. Or if you do try and go for just the overwhelming numbers attitude, like I will out-produce you, even if you have the better technology. Which seems to be Trigger's plan so far. So getting that gold base up is really important, as he might start taking some Disruptors to the face. So far has avoided really nasty shots, but it's kind of almost like a matter of time. He's going to need to replace as soon as that happens. Upgrades have evened up, which are still very important, even though Nina is still mostly relying on her Disruptors. The fact that her Stalkers can go toe-to-toe with the opponents is still pretty important. And we do have a shield battery. We have 2 shield batteries actually up and running. So defensively, it looks like Nina's going to be okay. Trigger is trying to set up one heck of a surround, however, and it's going to be okay. Gets a little distracted by a pylon, however, and reinforcing Disruptors also cause a lot more issues than Trigger was hoping for. That, with just the shield battery overcharge lasting that entire fight and Disruptor shots forcing all over the place army to move back and forth, Nina actually takes a very good engagement. Trigger is still so gung-ho about winning right here, though, that even though I feel like that was a bit of a slapback, he decides not to return home. Just reinforces with that superior economy. War Prism does get shot down. Revenge kind of had as a snipe on the Disruptor happens, but without reinforcements, Trigger really has got to get out of there. Thank you, Napoleon, for the tier 1 sub. Trigger seriously has a lot of reinforcements. 12 gateways, 5 bases with the gold base, so even though the probe count's not that much higher for him, we do look at the actual mineral income, and it is a super big boost for Trigger. My god, more than I was expecting, actually. Gold base hype. And again, upgrades once again in favor of Trigger. Gonna take down some of the production, get the heck out of there before the recall actually impacts the battle. Almost retreats into more of Nina's army, but fortunately has a second escape path and goes down to the bottom left. Now this opens up the opportunity for Nina to hit a base that Trigger really does need. As much as Trigger has been mining from this for an extended period of time, so you might say like, oh, you know, he loses it, he still got a lot of benefit from it. He still absolutely needs a better economy with the way that he's playing. He's going to have to reinforce bigger numbers than Nina. So if he loses this but has this base up and running already, maybe it is okay. But if this base goes down and there's no other base up and running, we're also talking about a lot of the initial bases running out of minerals. So Trigger's economy, basically it could fall off a cliff before you know it. And that's something that he has to avoid. Disruptor shot not going to actually hit. Recall is had. This is actually a really weird recall. Oh, it's because Nina only left a certain number of units to kill the Nexus. So that was a pretty damn good recall. But now we have potential surround right now. Oh god. Oh my god. The Zealots on the right side, they do kind of surround a little bit. And a good blink from Trigger trying to mitigate the damage, but the Zealots on the left getting mostly slaughtered. Disruptors getting shots left and right. Nina's still down in supply, but still all the Disruptors still up and running, at least for now. Forced to kill some of her own Stalkers to get the Zealots off her back. More Disruptors come forward, but Nina is now lacking protective units for those Disruptors. They can only protect themselves for so long. Trigger's recall units also finally coming forward after they did successfully save the Nexus. A little bit more mining is had right now. Plus, this base has been up and running. Well, not exactly running, but it's been up. It's actually kind of protected by some static defense. We could have probes go over there as Trigger still also engages on Nina's side of the map. Decides not to try and go a little too overboard by killing the Nexus itself. It's going to play it a bit safe, and actually has got to come home. Didn't expect this. Very late warp in. Oh, with no detection, so useless warp in. Oh, boy. That's I actually did think that 2 cannons and a shield battery would have been enough, but the overcharge didn't happen until I guess the Nexus was under fire. So 4 DTs, right? That was 4 DTs was enough. That's a pretty important snipe. And the DTs are going to cause even more ruckus. Trigger, really with that attack, realizing that there's DTs, but then also focusing elsewhere, didn't actually get all his defense back up at home. Was kind of late to this cannon, for instance, in the bottom left. Even if it was up and running, this is 5 DTs. 1 cannon would not have cut it. At the very least, getting some revenge. Takes down Nina's also very important 5th base. Both of them sent back to a difficult economic situation. Because the minerals are starting to get a little questionable. Like, how many are there left? A bit. On both sides, I imagine it's quite similar. 10 probes have gone down for Trigger with all the Nexus snipes as well, but it's not the biggest issue. I think some of Trigger's bank going into a double expand as well. So this is giving Nina a lot of time to chill, you know, calm down a little bit. So not only has she managed to keep a lot of the Disruptors alive, which was looking questionable for a second there, 7 Disruptors on the field, she also has been able to add in Archons. And these Archons, I think, are actually a pretty good decision against what she was up against. Past tense. Up against Mass Stalker Gateway. Stalker Zealot, there we go. Mass Gateway units, right? Because the Archons would have almost completely nullified those Zealots that were giving her some trouble. The ones that were jumping on top of her army, on top of her Disruptors. And they also just would have been good against the Stalkers, too. So many of them, tanking so many shots, eventually getting up on top of the Gateway units. They're chonky. What they aren't good against are other Disruptors. So that's why I said past tense. So Trigger has actually finally moved on to Disruptors, which is almost inevitable. If you can't break Nina's position, then you're going to have to go into your own Disruptors. And it seems to have happened kind of in the nick of time. Yes, Trigger loses a Nexus, so not really in the nick of time, but I think in good enough time to make sure that he doesn't die. Because Nina has surprised him, boom, suddenly 6, 7 Archons included, with all the Disruptors saved from earlier. Now, the 4 Disruptors of Trigger, 3 actually, already getting a couple of good shots, reducing the number of Disruptors of Nina, and making sure that those Archons are not the power unit that they were expecting to be. Now, it's very likely that many of them die. 2 Disruptors, but 3 Disruptors still isn't that impressive. If Trigger had 6 Disruptors, I mean, the Archons are going to have a lot of trouble doing anything, but maybe just waiting Disruptor shots out. Good save on them temporarily at the very least with the Warp Prism, but the Warp Prism itself goes down. The Disruptors are focus fired. None of them are going to get a second shot here, and that is going to send Trigger's Blink Stalker army back home. Some more reinforcements, however. He does have more Disruptors. They were just reinforcing, going to different locations. No, not paying attention! Oh, and not... I don't think he had Blink anyways. So... only was able to blink like 1 or 2 of those Stalkers away. And now Nina is marching towards the bottom left. Really the only mining base left for Trigger. Now she's not exactly in a better position. She needs to get the space back up as well. And Trigger sees that with an Observer. Is already sending a couple of Zealots. Just a couple to kill a couple of those probes. Could be a big deal. Oh, they both are getting that surplus of probes at this point. Speaking of, Trigger loses his probes. Nina starts losing hers. But it's about bases, really, more than the probes. Long-distance mining can only do so much. So many Disruptors left back at home for Trigger, hoping for that exact moment. Does manage to take off a couple of those Archons, but didn't actually get the juicy center of the Disruptors, which would have been really ideal. Trigger is going to reinforce back at home as well. And that might be a good enough army. That is so many Disruptors. 8 Disruptors with some added protection maybe is enough for Trigger to win this base trade, because that's certainly what it is right now. Trigger's main Stalker army went across the map. Kills the Nexus. Zealot's going to take care of that one eventually. And Nina is having a tough time even killing this one. Having one of the Disruptors shredded out by the looks of things. And it's 3 base to 3. Both of them still with, I guess, the majority of their production alive. Equal upgrades. Oh no, +1 armor finish for Trigger, so not equal upgrades. And 9 Disruptors for Trigger to 6 of Nina. Nina's best thing she's got going for her, the 4 Archons, which, you know, aren't just, I don't know if that's actually that impressive. Oh! I thought he was looking at that. I'm so surprised that wasn't a cancel. Unless Trigger thought that he'd be able to save it. Ooh, that's a big mistake. Ooh, 400 minerals down the drain. Trigger still has that supply lead. Oh, shit! And just took a really good disruptor fight. Now it's 8 disruptors to 5. But Nina has taken over the gold base. How about that? And there's still a bit of mining left over there. Trigger had it for a couple of minutes, but certainly not for a lot of this game. Going on 21 minutes now. So Nina is the one able to, I guess, mine effectively. But not really so much more on the gas. And gas is still a huge issue for both of them. Oh, no, not for Trigger. I thought that was 200. That's 2,000. My bad. No, for Nina, it's a huge problem. But Trigger, I saw the Templar Archives, and I was like, oh, with 200 gas? Really? No, 2,000 gas. That makes a ton of sense. Although Archons may not be the best against Disruptors, it's better than having 2,000 gas useless in your bank, right? And again, Nina's starting to lose more Disruptors. Trigger's finally going to be mining again. Good protection against DTs, by the way. And there's all the High Templars being warped in, trying to use up all the gas bank. As he also tries to pin Nina in a corner. Not just pin her in a corner, actually take care of the base, which she does not know about, but will very, very, very soon. So he's actually probably thinking, I'll push her to her third, or whatever the middle left base is, and then I'll take the gold. And then he's going to be like, oh, you have a gold. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Probably not terribly surprised by it, but a little disappointed to see it. Disruptor production still going for both of them. Now 7 to 5. Both of them have the Archons. Trigger still with more Stalkers. That one armor upgrade as well. Just constantly throwing balls at each other. Balls with balls, 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 balls. I mean, technically it's Nina who has less maneuverability. She is the one that's being pinned back. Less of a concave to work with. Stack defense only helps you so much against Disruptors, but that was once again a bold blink from Trigger. And now it is Trigger who has a little less maneuverability. If he actually just stays in this pocket, that'd be a terrible idea. This Nexus is now up and running again. Good DT defense. Not like Nina's going to be affording to build like 10 DTs anytime soon. So damn close, though. Nina has managed to fill out some of that supply. Taking, I guess, a little bit of triggers. Okay, it looks like enough DTs were warped in. Oh, with Zealots. Okay, that makes more sense. To force a recall there. Hopefully an Observer came with it. How many Observers were we talking about? I know Trigger had 3 at one point. Yeah, he still has 4, actually, so should be fine on that. That was a bigger deal than I was expecting. Probably an accidental Disruptor callback as well. Army supplies have entirely evened up. Worker supplies are super, super close as well. Who knows where this is going to go.
Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
I stand. Thank you for the 43 months. Oh, shit, that's hers! Oh my god, that was Nina's from behind. At some point realizing that all the focus was just between basically here and here, she actually goes for the gamble. She comes from behind, gets an amazing shot, but wasn't amazing enough. The supplies are still kind of even as she also takes one of her, I guess, own bad fights, and then tries to blink forward, gonna stroke his focus fire as many of the Disruptors as possible, but you can only do so much. Trigger still has so many left over. And weirdly enough, I think they have all shots, so they're kind of retreating right now, but it should favorably, go favorably for Trigger. And that is it. GG. The balls, man. The balls. I actually thought that might have been game-breaking. Yeah, I guess it could have been better. It could have been better. It was just a couple of pixels closer, would have gotten the real heart of the Disruptors. Damn, so close. But then she takes her own. Yeah, bad shot. That did take care of all Disruptors. Run by didn't work out. Yeah, GG. That was a very fun replay. Thank you for that submission.